This list I have in front of me right now must look awfully familiar to a whole bunch of you out there because this is the top dog, the most played list in standard, best of one. In fact, it has been at the top of that chart for quite some time now, and for good reason. Mono white auras is budget friendly, easy to play, and quite powerful. And I know a lot of you are using this list to climb. However, if you're anything like me, you're probably getting a little bit tired of this one. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a way to upgrade from mono white auras into Boros auras, an arguably better deck, but it is at least something a little bit different, something that you can maybe work towards if you want to freshen up your experience on Magic Arena. So let's go over some of the changes from the original list into the new stuff. We have 27 cards that we are adding, and I'm sorry to say most of them are going to be rares, but they are rares that are worth crafting or having in your collection, or rares that you might already have. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a quick swap with Wonderweave Aerialist and this Slickshot Show-Off. Although Wonderweave Aerialist is a fantastic card, that Ward 2 on this creature is absolutely fantastic. It gains flying. You guys know this card, it is such a beater. However, you cannot argue with the raw power of the Slickshot Show-Off. This thing is insane. It's going to work very well with all of our auras. It's going to get very big very quickly and OTK the opponent on some or in some games. So Wonderweave Aerialist being cut for our wonderful Slickshot Show-Off. The next card that we're going to be swapping out is going to be the Spellbook Vendor. And although the Spellbook Vendor is very good because it allows us to put token enchantment aura rolls onto our creatures for the cost of just one generic mana, we're going to be putting it in the Emberheart Challenger instead of the Spellbook Vendor. And the reason for this is, again, this card works very well with our auras. We are going to be targeting the Emberheart Challenger with things like Shard Mage's Rescue, Ethereal Armor, and the chapters from the Most Helpful Weaver. And when we do that, it's going to give us more cards. We're going to be able to exile a card from the top of our library, and then we can play that until the end of turn. Getting more card access is always going to be very powerful. So Spellbook Vendor is the next cut. And then the final main cut from the deck is going to be Feather of Flight. Although Feather of Flight is a powerful card because it does give our creatures flying and it does have flash, Demonic Ruckus is quite the beast. This aura can do a lot of stuff. First of all, it can be plotted for one. If this is our only thing on turn one, having this free spell sitting over an exile is going to be very powerful. Then it gives Menace and Trample. We don't need flying if we're trampling to our creature. +1/+1 is good, and it also draws us a card when we put it into the graveyard from the battlefield. Kind of neat. And then the rest of the deck is going to be upgrading our lands because we are now introducing red into the deck. Of course, well, we need some lands. So we're going to be taking our plains all the way down to, I think it's going to be 4 in the end, but if you don't want to go too hard on the deck, I think 8 could be okay. Inspiring Vantage is going to be the first land that you're going to bring in. This is our fast Boros mana. This thing is fantastic. It's just a good card to have in your collection. If you don't already have this one, I think it's a worthwhile craft, especially if you are an aggro enjoyer like myself. Having Sacred Foundries in your collection is also fantastic because, well, it's a shockland. Shocklands are probably the best lands that we have access to. Not probably, they are the best lands that we have access to. They give you the land type. You can put them in tapped or untapped, and they give you 2 colors without question, right? There's no conditions at all. And then the Sunbillow Verge, we are bringing in 4 copies of the Sunbillow Verge. This thing also very good. In fact, it's a fantastic land. It is going to tap for white at the start, which is fantastic because our 1 CMC stuff is all white. But if we get a plains or a mountain on the field, which we can do through the Sacred Foundry or through the plains over here, then it's going to activate for red mana, and we should be fine to cast our stuff on turn 2. Now, the questionable thing here is whether or not you want to go full on. I think you could stop here. Maybe you could change 1 plains out for a mountain, something like that, to give a little bit more access to red mana. But I think what we're going to be doing for at least this video is bringing in 4 copies of the Multiversal Passage, another very good land to have access to on your account. This thing can be obviously a mountain or a plains. It's also going to be a land type for your Sunbillow Verge. It is just very good in this mana base. It's going to help us out a lot. So this is what the end deck is going to look like. It is going to be a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive. And I think in the end, more powerful than your mono white auras list. So we're going to hop into the arena, try it out, and see how this one plays out. See you over the games. Okay, Kohei is our first opponent with this upgraded Boros list, and we are being challenged right off the top with a single land. Thank you, deck smoother. I love you. This hand looks okay, so we'll throw away the veteran survivor, and we should be okay to do some pretty good damage against this opponent. This is the first time I've done like one of these like upgrade videos, at least I believe in recent memory. I don't know if I've done that in the past, but you all have to let me know if this is kind of content that you would like to see. I think it's interesting, but you know, I do have some reservations about it because it is a little bit risky to be recommending things to people like this. Like in the end, I am kind of recommending that you guys use your rare wild cards to maybe make a deck better, but I am going to stand behind this one because cards like Emberheart Challenger, Slickshot Show-Off, the Boros lands, these are all good things to have at your disposal. What does this mean? Oh man, this could be so bad for us, but I'm going to try it anyway. So Demonic Ruckus on the Emberheart Challenger. If they have the removal for the Emberheart Challenger, it all falls apart. They don't, and we find a land. That's actually kind of huge. The fact that this went through, very, very important for us. And they only had the Flood Pitch Drowner. That's okay. So we're not attacking in with the Optimistic Scavenger, but now we do have the Shelter by Ghost. Now, cool thing about the Demonic Ruckus, when this aura is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So as long as this hits the battlefield, we will at least be replacing it. Still not blocking. I don't know if they're going to shuffle away the Emberheart Challenger. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't shuffle away the Emberheart Challenger there. Okay. Let's put this fella on the field. They definitely have something. Do they have like an Ang? Potentially? And I guess we'll put this out on white. And let's try the Shelter by Ghost on the new Emberheart Challenger. At least we get the triggers. Hopefully... Actually, it doesn't really matter what we put in exile here. Shardmage's Rescue would have been pretty nice to draw. Another Flood Pitch Drowner from the opponent. Unfortunate. Okay. Well, we do still get to eat something, and we do still get to get in for 3 points of damage. The opponent has done a little bit of work on themselves with damage from, I guess, the starting town. Like, did I hit them for some damage? Maybe. Why are they already down to 16 and then down to 13 now? Interesting. We are holding a pretty good card here. However, if they decide to shuffle away this, it's, you know, that's what was going to happen. And then they get to stun down my Emberheart Challenger one more time, which they can then, again, choose to shuffle away. They don't. Actually, they never had a chance to do that. Now, with this Shardmage's Rescue, though, pretty good. I am going to target the Shelter by Ghost onto the Emberheart Challenger just to get access to this. Can I plot this? I think plot is only from your hand, right? You may exile this card, cast it as a sorcery later. So I'm pretty sure I can't actually do that. So I have to make a choice here. Yeah, I'm gonna do this anyways. I think it's worth it to put this on the creature. It becomes a 6/6. It'll also draw me a card. They have 2 creatures that they need to deal with, and if I untap with the Shardmage's Rescue, I should be okay. So the opponent with the Flood Pitch Drowner full house hand. What an interesting start from the opponent. And of course they have the Ang. So they bounce. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, no. That's probably the best thing to do. We get to draw Most Helpful Weaver. Talk about your good cards. Okay, so Most Helpful Weaver plus Emberheart Challenger. Oh, I made a mistake probably. I should have just put out the Emberheart Challenger to get the Prowess trigger on that, and then I could have potentially attacked in with a 4/4. Oopsie doopsie. My bad. It's okay. Would I have attacked in? I think I would have attacked with a 4/4 Emberheart Challenger. Yeah. This Shardmage's Rescue is going to have to do a heck of a lot of heavy lifting. This Plains was actually a huge hit for us. So Sky Coach Conductor, they're going to try to bounce something, bounce the Ang maybe. And we're going to be able to get them with the Shardmage's Rescue. So that looks pretty good to me. Do I want to put the... Yes, this is okay, right? Sure. Now, our Optimistic Scavenger does have Trample. I assume what they're going to try to do is bounce the Ang with the Sky Coach. Yep, all aboard. And they're going to try to get rid of our poor Optimistic Scavenger which we will try to prevent. Okay. Is this until the end of the turn? You may play until end of turn. So I'm going to put it on the Optimistic Scavenger just to take full advantage of the trample. And we do need a... talk about your good draws. I think I put it here. Just to get a trigger there. Sure. More damage, more damage. And I think we are pretty much good now, right? Because we put 2 more counters onto the Optimistic Scavenger and we swing in with both of these. They have to double block the Optimistic Scavenger because of Menace, and then that damage should go through it. Although this is only... No, it's more than enough damage. Heck yeah, okay. Fighting through an Azorius Flash tempo deck. So not a bad first performance. Let's hopefully go in and try to get up to Diamond. I shouldn't have said that. I probably just jinxed myself. Now we're going to lose a whole bunch in a row. Hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, Veteran Survivor plus Most Helpful Weaver gives us 2 creatures, and we also have the Shard Mage's Rescues for protection. Most Helpful Weaver with the final double strike can really push a lot of power. However, we are against everybody's favorite Izzet decks. I know the Izzet decks did not do particularly well during the Pro Tour. Like, they did well, but they didn't win the Pro Tour. The card that came out of the Pro Tour as the big winner was definitely going to be the Badger Mole Cub decks. Come on, no more lands, please, no more lands. But I think the Izzet decks were expected. People were tuned to beat those decks. People were very familiar with those decks. But I still think the Izzet decks are probably the biggest problem in the format right now, even though it didn't look like that coming out of that particular event. Slickshot Show-Off. Oh, of course they have. Man, they just had my number. What are you going to do when your opponent keeps Prismari Charm and Burst Lightning against your opening hand and you are sitting here drawing land? It's such an unfortunate thing. I actually saw a post the other day that said Magic is not as skill intensive as you think. That's what like the premise of the post was, saying that luck plays so much more of a factor into the game than people give credit to it. And I think everybody can definitely agree that luck is a big element to this game. If I draw another land here, what am I going to do? In fact, I kind of need to draw a creature. But there are things that you can do to mitigate the reliance on luck. Number 1, don't play a deck that is so reliant on pieces matching up to be functional. For example, this deck that I'm playing right now is never going to be a Pro Tour winning deck. This is a play on arena, fast games, just churn through your opponents and climb that way type of deck. This is not a sit down, function at the highest possible level type of deck. And the reason for that is if you put out a creature and you lose that creature, the rest of your deck becomes absolutely useless. Whereas something like Stormchaser's Talon is just going to function on its own. So Izzet decks definitely function a whole lot better. If that's the type of deck that you want to play, that's what you should be playing. But of course, we're trying the Auras deck because we gotta see other stuff. Maybe we'll talk more about luck in a minute. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to properly articulate this, but there's definitely a place where luck and skill match, or they hit each other, and that's all. Picking the right deck is definitely one factor, but the next factor is how to deal with bad luck, right? When you are drawing poorly or when you are given a certain set of cards in a certain matchup, your skill can come in to try to mitigate some of that bad luck aspect of it. And that's where, players that are better than other players are probably going to separate themselves, if that makes any sense. So it's really how you deal with the bad variance or deal with the situation. That's where the skill part comes in, and hopefully your skill can overcome or mitigate the bad luck aspect. Sometimes you just have a bad game though, like that last game. Also, not playing best of one is probably the number 1 way to mitigate bad luck. Best of one probably takes the luck factor and amplifies it 10 times over, right? I don't know what my opponent's on. I don't know what kind of hand I should keep. I didn't know that my opponent was going to have, for example, a whole bunch of firebending lessons in the case of something, you go up against a lessons player. I didn't know that was going to happen. what can you do? Sometimes you throw away a hand that has a whole bunch of seam rips, and then your opponent is on Land of War Elves, and you're like, dang, I wish I had those seam rips. But if you're playing best of 3, then game 2 and game 3, you know to keep those seam rips for those situations, right? So that's the whole point there. The opponent with the Innkeeper's Talent not attacking with the Gene Pollinator, and now I have a choice that I have to make. Do I mean, there's no way they have something to kill my Optimistic Scavenger. It's like a 0% chance, right? So we use the Shelter by Ghost. We top decked. We got lucky. We top decked the Shelter by Ghost, the exact card that we needed to take out the Gene Pollinator, probably cut them off of some mana, and then we were going to slam this turn with a pretty good board with this Ethereal Armor probably on top of the Optimistic Scavenger. Next turn giving double strike to something, and another Ethereal Armor. Oh boy. But if you have any opinions on magic and luck and skill, I would love to hear them down in the comments. Always interesting to read what you guys think about those types of things. But yeah, I don't know. I think my ideas were okay. Whoa, is that a turn 1 shock opponent? Are you holding a turn 1 burst lightning or shock opponent? How dare you do something like that? We got a little bit lucky with that demonic ruckus. Otherwise we would have just put the Sacred Foundry, not sheltered, Sacred Foundry out on a tapped, save a little bit of life, but I think it's worth it to take 2 damage to put the demonic ruckus onto the field. Do you know what that means? This means the opponent is on Jeskai control, and this means we have like a 10% chance of winning, I think. We're going to try our best to run them down, but until I find a few more... Yikes. Until I find a few more lands, it's going to be really hard for me to deploy enough things at one moment to be able to flood the opponent's face, essentially, is what I want to be doing. The opponent, however, very graciously taking 6 points of damage. We are going to put the Emberheart Challenger onto the field, and if it attacks in and gets some value, fantastic. If it dies here, no big deal. But I really need to hit some lands here so that I can... Oh man, you hate to see that. Them taking or gaining some life is always brutal. I need to have lands so that the Shard Mage's Rescues are live. Okay, well that's a land. This time I'm going to go out with the Helpful Weaver, because if I can actually get a Slickshot to survive on the field, then the double strike on the Slickshot is going to be really juicy, and if we can take full advantage of that, we'll be in pretty good shape. There's that Burst Lightning that they had kept the untapped Sacred Foundry for on turn 1. Of course they had it. This is the unfortunate thing, and this is another, you can kind of call this bad luck. We're running into a matchup where the opponent very clearly has a lot of things to use against us. I really need a creature on the field next turn for this double strike. So that means probably what I need to do is I need to put the Emberheart Challenger onto the field. I mean, this sucks. And I need to put the Slickshot Show-Off onto the field. And we need to hope that these Shard Mage's Rescues... Does this ever go badly for me? Maybe. I mean, this is not going to work out for me. It's Jeskai control. They're going to try to interact with my creature right now. I'm going to do this. It's going to be, it is what it is. They're going to have they're going to just take the damage, or they're going to have a board wipe next turn or something like that. We didn't draw a land. It would have been nice if this were a land, but now we are completely shields down. We're just praying that both of these creatures survive through this turn. But at least we mitigate 3 damage or 3 life gain here. We attack for 7, kind of like 10 in a way. But now it all comes crumbling down, because you know what's going to happen in 3, 2, 1. Perfect editing for the board wipe. You knew it was going to happen. And now we have nothing. So I am not going to sit through the rest of this game, because I took my shot. They had the thing that they needed. We don't have any more creatures. What are you going to do about Jeskai control when you're playing this deck, when their opening hand is that? You're going to move on to the next game. I know there are people out there that will say, Badger Mole Cub made me quit, Stormchaser's Talent made me quit, whatever. Do you keep this? Cards made you quit, or types of deck strategies made you quit. For me, It will always be Jeskai control. The types of decks that I like to play are just always so soft to Jeskai control, and I hate it. If I never saw another Jeskai control opponent, I would sleep so much better at night. Unfortunately, I feel like my future is full of Jeskai control players. Okay, we need. Okay, okay. I was gonna say we need some help. Seam Rip is not bad. It's not the exact help that I want. I need to find something that targets these Emberheart challengers to hopefully start seeing some cards in exile and getting some steam going from that Valiant ability. Okay, Pop Hatch Recruit, and you know what? The most helpful Weaver is not bad, because what this means is that the second and third are going to target my Emberheart challengers, which means I need to lead on the Emberheart challenger. Boy, oh boy, do I send in this guy? I don't think I do. I think they would trade off the Pop Hatch Recruit very quickly, and I would not be very willing to make that trade. Sentinel of the Nameless City is pretty good here. I suppose they probably attack with 2-1. Yeah, they know I'm not blocking with the 2-2. I was too cowardly before. And that's a pretty good card. I made a mistake there. That's a mistake. Don't be like me. Don't be a bad player. Every time I play I don't play Emberheart Challenger enough. I'm going to make excuses for a few minutes. Okay, it didn't matter because I was never going to play out the Demonic Ruckus. I was always going to play out the most helpful Weaver. But every time I play Emberheart Challenger, I always do my ordering wrong. Most of the time these days in Magic Arena or in Magic, I feel like ordering is not so important. However, there are cards like Emberheart Challenger. The order does matter. What I should have done was put the Ethereal Armor out first to see what card I would exile with the Emberheart Challenger, and then I could have made the decision to put out the most helpful Weaver or whatever, you know, the land. Because if I had exiled the land, you know, would have been okay. I know what deck the opponent is on. This is cool. Honestly, I'm going to miss the trample that was on this. The trample would have been pretty gas for us. That's a little bit disappointing. But it's okay. We have a pretty good board. They have a Tyvar, though. The Tyvar is going to be very annoying because the Tyvar does have Indestructible, so we're just never getting through it. And we are going to take some damage here. So we need a good draw. That is the antithesis of a good draw. But we get another shot at the top of our library. And you know what? The most helpful Weaver? Not bad. Not bad, not bad, not bad. So we are going Emberheart Challenger. We are putting out another most helpful Weaver. That means next turn, we are going to get 2 Valiant triggers. And yeah, it's going to be pretty good news. Now, there's no point in attacking because they just block with the Tyvar and tap down the Tyvar using its ability. So it's a fruitless attack. We saved the 7/7 Emberheart Challenger for, you know, blocking their Sentinel of the Nameless City coming in. But at the same time, they do now have 5, so they're able to pump all their creatures by 3. They choose not to do that, though. Okay, if we hit a Demonic Ruckus, we're going to be in really good shape. And we get to see 3 cards this turn. No. No, opponent. No, 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 no. What? That doesn't, what world does that attack make sense? I can understand if they have... No, I mean, we have First Strike. This has to be a bad attack, right? Okay, sometimes you get a freebie. Okay, so we give Double Strike to... Yeah, let's go with the big boy. We'll put the +1/+1 here. We missed with the land. We don't want to see lands. Please, no lands. Demonic Ruckus. Ruckus. Please. They do have 1 mana available, and they seem to have something that they can do. I don't know what they're doing for 1 mana. Ethereal Armor's okay. Okay. Double Ethereal Armor is okay. We get to choose... Hang on. Choose a legendary permanent that you wish to keep. Oh my god, I made a huge mistake, and the opponent just gave me a gift of a free win. Please. Cut. Some people are going to call paid actor. They're going to say things like that. Maybe they exist. Maybe paid actors do exist in this world. But we're gonna all I'm gonna say is y'all should read A Most Helpful Weaver. And make sure you fully understand the implication of the speaking of the card, make sure you all understand the implication of putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature that you control. Don't worry about it. It's fine. What is the opponent doing? Sammy's Curiosity. We are doing interesting things. We are creating lander tokens. They're probably just going to crack this lander token. So we get to attack in Live a Live. Is that the name? That's a name of a game, isn't it? I think I bought it on the Switch too, and I never have played it. Anybody else out there have a bad tendency of buying games and then never actually playing them? Like you just pick it up and then it just sits there for a while? Duress, pretty good. What are they going to take? I'm going to bet they take the... I was going to say Shelter by Ghost, but I suppose they probably have some removal for my poor Emberheart Challenger, so Shardmage's Rescue, pretty good target for that. Okie dokie. Well, we do not hit well, so let's just go with the most helpful Weaver, put it on the field. I really wanted to cast the Demonic Ruckus on the Emberheart Challenger, but I feel like they are sitting on some kind of interaction for the Emberheart Challenger. I would have loved to be brave enough to do the Valiant ability to maybe find a card, but I don't know. Maybe knowing that they're doing the Landers thing, maybe I could have been a little bit braver there. 5 mana, 6 mana, 6 mana for the opponent to our 2, very fair. And Mind Root, target player discards 2 cards, put up to 1 land discarded this way onto the battlefield tapped under your control. My friend, you are not going to be finding any lands over here. So what are we doing? Honestly, I think I'm throwing away the removal. I don't know what the opponent... Is it actually the Emberheart Challenger in the Seam Rip? Yeah, it is. I think you got to keep the Shelter by Ghost. You can't assume that you're going to be okay. No land, huh? Okay. Slicky to the field. I mean, when you get a slick shot, you kind of play it out. So if the opponent slams like an Ugin here, not so bad. If the opponent does a board wipe, pretty bad. If the opponent does Lessons from Life, probably pretty good for us. And you're dead, opponent. Okie dokie. Boom. Back up to Diamond or Platinum Tier 1. Keep climbing. All right, we got 6 games in the bag. I suppose we got maybe 1 or 2 more left in us. Man, our only creature being the Spider from the Most Helpful Weaver is a little bit sketch, but Most Helpful Weaver and these auras are very powerful. I'm going to try this one. Also, our mana base is not the worst. So, depending on what the opponent's on, we could be okay. Now, we don't want to see another land. Please, no more lands. This comes back to the luck thing. Land. Big old problem. Ooh, Voice of Victory is also kind of a problem. Okay, so Most Helpful Weaver has to survive. And you know what? Again, I am calling for the Demonic Ruckus. The Demonic Ruckus is going to be the card that probably allows me to get in for some big damage. Oh, okay. We 100% need Slickshot Show-Off or Demonic Ruckus. It's the only thing that's going to allow us to survive this game. The good news is next turn, what we can do is we can put the Ethereal Armor onto the Spider here, our legendary hero Spider, and we can block the Voice of Victory from coming in. Emberheart Challenger's pretty good? Huh. So, yeah, I think my plan changed ever so slightly. It's going to be Emberheart Challenger, and I'm going to still hold back the Spider because the Voice of Victory, I don't know why I was saying I need the Ethereal Armor on the legendary hero Spider. Just a reminder again, because the Voice of Victory is going to be coming in. It's a 3/2. It can block the 1/3. Not a big deal here. They sacrifice the Voice of Victory. Sacrificing the Voice of Victory. Oh, Shardmage's Rescue doesn't work with the Voice of Victory on the field. I am just a bad player right now. I am forgetting all of my fundamentals. But thankfully, the opponent... Why didn't I block the... Why didn't I block the 1/1s? It doesn't matter. It's fine. Things are okay. We get to I mean, honestly, we can do a lot of damage next turn if the opponent, or if we find like a demonic ruckus. It all comes down to demonic ruckus. What a good card. Who knew that giving trample to your creatures was such an important thing to be able to do? Okay, that's the turn for the opponent. Now we have our free, not free, but Shard Mage's Rescues are available, I should say. I do have to be a little bit careful with my life total. Nope, I don't have to be careful with my life total anymore. Well, 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 sir. I'm going to put this on. I have a lot of white stuff, right? And I am going to pay the 2. Just because. Because. Do they have removal for it? Nope. Okay, let's take. I guess we take Sephiroth. And we attack in with both of these creatures if they want to. They're going to put this in front of the Emberheart Challenger 100% of the time. So we only gain 4 life because the first strike damage from the double strike is going to kill it, and I don't have trample. So from here, what could they have? Raise the... Actually left speechless. Who's rocking Day of Judgment? It's not real, right? Like, it's got to be orchestrated, right? Like, this can't be a real thing for somebody to have, like, play Sephiroth. I don't know. Sure. That's the surprise factor of some cards, I suppose, right? There are some cards that your opponents would never put you on if you're playing a certain strategy. 100%, I would never put my opponent on Day of Judgment in a Sephiroth, Voice of Victory, Umbral Caller, Zealot deck. But I suppose it kind of makes sense in ways. You do maybe want to wipe the board and, just get a whole bunch of extra value. Let's go in with the Voice of Victory. We get to start eating things with the Voice of... not Voice of Victory, sorry. Veteran Survivor. So that's some good news. And... because of the way things are, because they didn't block with the Voice of Victory, I also think I'm going to run out the Ethereal Armor onto the Spider. Just to have a really good blocker. They say good game. The opponent... yeah, maybe a good game. What do you got? Show me... you know what? Let's make a 3. Let's make a 3/3 as well. Just to have a couple of blockers on the field. I guess I could have done all of this beforehand, making the Veteran Survivor a little bit bigger, but they might have 12 points of damage to kill me. Scars... yeah. Okay, that's probably it. GG opponent. There is an example of a timely... Is this my death? They sacrifice a whole bunch of things. So we block here, we block here? Or do I block here? It doesn't matter. That's extra damage, right? Okay. So 3 damage coming in from the opponent. And then they have the sacrifices. So whenever they gain life, they're going to be dealing 2 points of damage to me. Huh? Is it enough damage still? Why? The opponent's losing damage here. It doesn't probably really matter because they can sacrifice so much to kill me, I think. Okay. Now what do you sack, though? Yeah, we're still dead. We're dead pretty much no matter what. Really unfortunate. Anyways, Day of Judgment. Pack your Day of Judgments in every deck that you play because you never know when they're gonna work out. They're just gonna work for you, and you're gonna get a win with your Day of Judgment randomly taking out an opponent. Sacrificing oh, they didn't sacrifice Sephiroth. Of course, Sephiroth gets the last one. So even not letting the 3 points of damage connect with the Voice of Victory and the 2 mobilized creatures, they still had more than enough damage. That one was a little bit of a rough one. Man, that Day of Judgment really took me back. Yeah, took me back, sent me back, pissed me off. I don't know. Pick whatever word you want to say. So now that I've been playing this Boros deck a little bit more, I'm really starting to wonder if it's actually worth the upgrade. And I don't know, like the meta's been a little aggressive, and I do think that the Auras deck probably is not not in as good a position as it was a couple of months ago. And the reason for that is because spot removal has become so much more prevalent. And as I mentioned before in previous games, or matches, you kind of need these creatures to stick on the field, and if they're not able to stick on the field, then you're in really big trouble, right? Now we are against landfall here, so if we can make this seam rip do a lot of work for us, we can maybe be in pretty good shape. But you know what? The opponent doesn't seem to have anything, so we're just going to go out with the optimistic scavengers. And you know what is, oh, if they have the Mossborn Hydra on turn 3 and I'm sitting here with the sea, oh my god. Okay, Shelter by Ghost. Do I just lose because I lose? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Okay. Do I put it out? Okay, so the question is, do I do 5 points of damage now, or do I get an additional 4 points of damage? 5 points of damage. But I'm going to target the Emberheart Challenger. The thing I exile is not going to be a thing that I can cast out. So probably it's better to just let the damage go through. I don't know. What was I supposed to do there? Was I supposed to use the Shard Mage's Rescue to get trigger, 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 and think, ooh, okay. Okay, so it's not so bad. Not yet. It's only a 2/2. They don't attack. Most Helpful Weaver, not great. So let's try to find something. We might put them in a spot where they have to just block. Okay. That sucks, but at the same time, it's also a card that I can put onto the field and get triggers for the Optimistic Scavenger. So boom. I have to do some mathing, but I don't know if I'm just going to be able to... I mean, I guess they have to double block here, right? We're just spreading out the damage as much as we possibly can. Where's everything going? I don't know. We'll put it on this one. I messed up. So, oh man, I wanted everything to be spread out. So I think they have to block there. And how much damage is it? It's not quite enough. So they have the Hydra. If they can kill me here, what a situation. I hate this game. I hate it so much. It's such a stupid game sometimes. We drew the 2 Seam Rips, and of course the Seam Rips are not the cards that we needed, and they had the sandbagged Fable Passage into the Nylia's Ordeal, and boom, 40 damage because I didn't have my removal check, and I didn't have enough damage to push through. Amazing that I didn't have enough damage to push through. Oh, I'm tilted, boys. I'm tilting out. I realized that this deck that I'm playing has Slickshot Show-Off. I'm playing Slickshot Show-Off because it's a very powerful red card, and you kind of have to play your powerful cards. I really hate these cards. I hate them so much. I think Wizards really needs to go back to a policy of nothing that is like 1, 2, 3, 4 CMC should be able to deal lethal damage without the considerable help of other cards. The idea that Slickshot Show-Off can become 20 damage so quickly, or the Mossborn Hydra becomes infinite amounts of damage so quickly, it's just not good for the game. It's such a bad place for things to be in, and they need to address that, but they insist on making things incredibly powerful. I don't know. That's my rant. Jeskai, man, everything pisses me off in this game these days. Jeskai control, annoying. Mossborn Hydras killing you when you just don't meet your removal check, and man, this comes back to the luck thing that maybe I was talking about earlier. That game, I had removal. I had 2 Seam Rips, but of course I had the removal that wasn't blanket removal that hits literally everything. I had targeted removal, and here I am again. Now this time without proper removal, and I'm gonna get OTK'd by a firebending student coming in for a tremendous amount of damage. Where are my Seam Rips now? Okay, we only take 10 damage. I got nothing, opponent. Full bore? Wow. That's still not enough. No, it is exactly enough damage. Some of my videos lately have really been highlighting the absolute absurd degeneracy. No, I'm not having fun. In fact, I'm not even dropping rank. I lost 3 in a row and it's not dropping me ranks. Maybe there's something on the back end that's preventing me from dropping ranks because they know it's such garbage. But some of my videos lately have really been highlighting just the absurdity of these matches. And one commenter, Brandon, he said that this video is really highlighting the swinginess of Magic these days, specifically best of one. Maybe I'll pop that up. So 3 tough losses in a row, but I kind of got a bit of a fire in me now, and I want to keep. I know this deck is good. I just feel like, and I don't even think I've been keeping bad hands. I really feel like the matchups have just been working a little bit too ideally for our opponents. This card can F right off. Oh, fellas, I am fiery right now. I am fired right up. Okay, the opponent is on a Dimir list. Let's see what Dimir means. Yep. I mean, that, of course, they're going to have the removal. Everybody's got to have removal. So we thankfully do have a Emberheart Challenger, and we do now have these Shard Mage's Rescue to be able to protect it with the Sacred Foundry mana. If they have another Strategic Betrayal, then I'll just know that somebody is looking down on me. Am I targeted? Am I just being targeted? Is that the situation? Oh, look at this card. You're showing up about 2 games too late. Garbage. Please give me a break. I'm sitting here again with 2 cards that are absolutely useless, although that's pretty good against the Furdock Core. Or the Shelter by Ghost is gonna be pretty good against the Furdock Core. Okay. So I think it's probably okay for me to just go for it, and I might end up regretting taking the Furdock Core here, but yeah, I don't know. Actually, now I'm kind of looking at that and I'm maybe regretting it, because maybe what I needed to do was save it for the next turn when I get double strike, so I could clear a blocker here, because inevitably they're going to have some blocker. However, they might just have a board wipe. It's a deceit. Ooh. Oh? You pay the 2. Boys, we got the blowout. We got the absolute blowout. So, again, this game, man, it's almost like no decisions are made. It's just on rails, a lot of these matches. How many have we played? We've played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We played 10, and we are 50-50. Okay, decided to do an 11th match because I need to know if this deck is going to go 6-5 or 5-6. And the Magic Gods have said you are going to lose. You get 1 land. Although, I mean, this hand might be absolutely fantastic if you draw a land and you're against an opponent that these Seam Rips are actually useful against. But who's to say that the Seam Rips are actually going to be useful? Nobody knows, because I keep pushing myself to play best of 1. Turn 1, let's go Demonic Ruckus. We have the Slickshot Show-Off. We have awesome things. Do I keep the protection or do I keep the removal? Man, am I gonna go? Oh, let me keep the full. This is a perfect 7 card hand. What do you keep here? I don't know. Maybe it's actually getting rid of the Ethereal Armor, as crazy as that sounds. I think it is. I think that was the worst card. Amazingly, Ethereal Armor is the worst card among those cards. Shard Mage's Rescue's gone. Yikes. Big yikes. And while we drew a land, that's okay. We get to take a little bit less damage, but turn 1 Duress. You hate to see it when you're sitting here with a whole bunch of auras in hand. Bro. Can you... They kept... So the opponent keeps the... By the way, Thoughtseize Bug? Anybody? Thoughtseize Bug? Yeah. The opponent kept a 1 land hand. Oh, they find the land, though. They get rewarded for their greed. And unfortunately for us, I don't think I can't just put out the Slickshot Show-Off. It's too important. And the opponent's sitting there with... Okay, well, hold up. If they miss a land here, Things have changed. Things have changed. Things have definitely changed. I think I could have put the Emberheart Challenger. Oh man, I just misplayed this. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Emberheart Challenger out as well. Yep, my bad. My bad. Maybe I'm losing because I'm bad. Maybe that's the situation. Do you ever stop to ask yourself that maybe it's you? Anyways, they are on 2 mana. They need a lot of help to get rid of the Slickshot Show-Off. Of course, they could destroy the Shelter by Ghost to free the Badger Mocha, but we get a very sketchy win. I think the opponent just kept a very greedy hand, and we end up going 11 games, 6-5 with this upgraded list. All right, so 11 games in the bag. At the end of it, is it worth it to actually upgrade if you're playing the auras list? And honestly, I think if you are a person that's been playing a lot of the mono white auras and you are looking for something a little bit different, a little bit fresh, it's not bad. It's a pretty cool thing to transition into. And I think the main reason I can say, even though my win rate was not so great, some of those games are really sketchy. It's just, it's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have good variants. Sometimes you're going to have bad variants. Sometimes you get on a run that you go 10-0. Sometimes you go 0-10 because you just can't get anything to work. And some of those games definitely felt like I was running into some sketchy stuff. But what I can say is that every single one of these cards that you're crafting are good cards to craft. And because of that, I feel like, yeah, if you are a person that's playing this deck and you're looking for something new, this is okay. This is an okay way to start building the deck. And then, you know what? If this deck doesn't feel so good for you, what you can do is you can head on over to Boros Aggro and look who's showing up. Slickshot Show-Off, Emberheart Challenger, Sunbill of Verge, literally every card -1 multiversal passage. You could just play a straight up burn list, which in fact is going to be the next video that I put out. I believe I'm gonna record this one this week as well. This list is another way for you to do this. Of course, it's a little bit more expensive because we do have the higher claw and we do have the Lightstall Inquisitor, 2 more rares, 8 more rares that you have to craft. But is Lightning Helix a rare? Okay, no, okay, it's certainly an uncommon. I was wondering, maybe once upon a time it was a rare. But yeah, you could go from the, you got 2 different types of decks here. They're kind of doing the same thing, but just in a slightly different way, depending on which way you want to go about things. So I just think like Slickshot Show-Off, Emberheart Challenger are just cards that are good for crafting. These lands are good to have in your collection. So try it out if you want to. Let me know if you do end up trying this one out and if it works out for you, or if you run into some of the nonsense that I was running into as well. That's it for this one. Thank you for taking the time to watch my little video here. And I appreciate all the new people who have been signing up, leaving comments. All of that stuff is very motivating. I've been getting a lot of really great, motivating comments. So if you want to keep motivating this guy to keep pumping out some content, comments are probably the best thing that you can do. And you know what? Tell your mother, tell your father, tell your uncle, let them know that AbojiiMTG is putting out 3 videos a week and that you can tune in to see some guy scream at digital paper cards when they're not going his way. That's it for this one. Take care for now, everyone. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your time. Sarang Ipana, and bye-bye.